Hey everyone, in this video we'll create the landing page of an e-commerce application by using ReactJS. So let's get started.
यार मेरे को तो ऐसा धक धक हो रहा है मेरे को भी हो रहा था
The e-commerce website landing page will look something like this, where we have the navigation bar, we have the banner, we have the list of categories, and we have the list of products. So let's get started. So first let me create the project using create React app. And we'll name it as Infinity Store. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. So the project is created now. So it has created this structure. So let's go to the Infinity Store and let's start the project. So the project has started now and it has created this demo application. Now we'll remove this and we'll start from the scratch. So we'll add a header and we'll also add a main section, and our header will contain two things. So it will contain a nav bar and then it will contain a banner. So we'll create the functional components for it, and then the main section will contain the list of categories, and then it will contain the top deals section, and then it will contain the list of the products. So let's start creating the components for each of them. So first we'll create the navbar component. So let me create a folder over here. So I'll name it as navbar. So I'll create a folder for navbar so that I can also add the CSS over there. And then let me add the file navbar.js. So over here we'll use a functional component. So I already have an extension installed which is simple React snippets. So if I use certain abbreviations, then it will automatically create a functional component for me. Like I'm using FFC, so it has created a boilerplate for a functional component, and I will name it as navbar, the component. And then over here I will use a nav tag. Then we'll add an image. So we'll use the image for the logo. And for the image, I have already created the logo on Canva. So we'll be using this logo for the Infinity Store. And I also have one other image that I will use in the banner. So I'll create an images folder over here. And let me quickly add the images. Now let's import the image over here. And we'll add it as a source. Now let's import this navbar component over here. So let's add the navbar component in app.js. So we'll need to fix the URL of the logo. So let's fix it. Now let's add the CSS file for the navbar component. Let me add some CSS for the nav tag. So I'll add max width as 80%. And I'll add margin 0 auto so that it's horizontally aligned in the center. Then I'll add some padding, and I'll add display flex so that my logo and other nav items are there on the same line. Then for the logo, I'm adding width as 80 pixel. I want it to stack on the top left corner. Let's import this CSS file in the Navbar component. And let me add the class name logo. Now you can see that it's tagged at the top left. I'll remove all these text. Now let's add a couple of links in the navbar. So I'll use ULLI for it. So I'll add a home link first. I'll use href as just a dummy URL, but in an actual app it will redirect to the corresponding different route for home. Then I will have a product URL, and I will also add FAQ and the cart URL. So this one will be cart. Let me also add a class name cart so that we can do some custom styling to this cart. And let's add class name for FAQ as well. I'll name it as cart, and I will also add a span for the count. This will correspond to the number of items that are there in the cart. So I'll initialize it with 0. Now let's add some styling to this links. So first let me style the list. So I'll mark it inline flex so that all the items are in the same line. And let me add some gapping. Let's say 30 pixel. And we'll align its center. Let's style the anchor tag now. So I'm setting the font size as 18 pixel. I'll remove the underline by using text decoration none, and I will add a color as black. Now on the hover, I'll change the color to red. So you can check that on hover the color is red now. Now let's style the cart. So we'll add some padding to the cart, 5 pixel, 10 pixel, and then I will add border radius 10 pixel. And let's add a gradient to it. So I'll use linear gradient to bottom right. So I'll add orange color and an RGB color. So this is a darker shade of orange. Then we'll mark color as white of the button. And I'll add a border to it. A better way to manage these colors is by using CSS variables, or if you're using Sass then you can use the variables. So that are better way to manage the colors. But in this example I'm just using the colors directly. Then we'll add display flex, and I will vertically align it center. Now let's add a hover state to this cart. So keep the color as white so that anchor hover doesn't override it. Then for the span, we'll change the font size to be a bit larger. Then we'll assign inline block so that it can accept some padding. We'll add font weight as 500 so it's a bit bolder. Now let's add another component which is a banner.js. So I've created a folder for banners so that it can hold both CSS and the JS file. This time I'm naming the file as index.js instead of banner.js because we have already named the folder as banner. Now let me create that functional component banner. I will also have to export it. Then we'll return the JSX. So here I will add a div tag and let me give it a class name as the banner. Then I will add another div, so where I will add all the text. So this is a heading. The biggest sale is on, using h1 tag, and then I will add a paragraph. So during this exclusive sale, grab items at top discount. And then I will use a br tag so that we print this in the next line. Don't miss the chance. Let me close the p tag properly. So this should be closed at the end. Then a button over here, check now. So let me import it in the app.js. So you can see it's visible on the left side. Now let me add an image over here. So this will be for the special offers image. So banner for special offers. And let's import the image. So import banner image from images/offers.png, and I'll add in the src. So now the image is visible. Now let's style this component further, the banner.js. So I will add max width as 80% and then margin 20 pixel auto to centrally align it. And then I will add display flex so that the image and the content stay next to next, and then align item center. So vertically align center and then justify content space around. Then let's style the button. So I will add margin top 50 pixel. Then let's import the CSS file. I will also add a media query for the devices that are below max width 992 pixel, especially for the tablet and mobile phones. So I will mark the image as display none for the lower devices. So you can see that it will only appear for the higher device width, not in the tablet or mobile phone. And then I will also hide the FAQ so that the top header is not cluttered. Then let's style the button now. So I'll add some padding and then the border radius, mark outline none, and I'll add a background with a linear gradient, which is somewhat similar to the chart that we did, to bottom right, and then an orange color, and then an RGB dark orange. Let's add color as white to it. And then cursor as pointer, and also add margin auto. This will be used when we are using it in the product. And then align cell center. So in the product card, we want it to be centrally aligned. And then let me also add border, 1 pixel solid, and again a dark orange color. Now let's add some transition to it for the hover state and the active states. Okay, first let's add the hover state, then we'll add the transition. So I'll increase the brightness when we are hovering on it. I will also add some bot shadow to it. Orange color. You can see that when you hover, then it's changing. Then the transition, 0.2 second, ease in out. This looks good. Now let's add an active state as well to the button. So I'll add some bot shadow. So we have to add some insert effect. So 20 pixel, 20 pixel, 50 pixel and 10 pixel. So insert, and let's add another bot shadow of an orange color. So if we click on it, then you can see that it's coming with a dark color. Seems like button is going inside. Let's change the H1 font size and the color now. 35 pixel, and let's set the color, which is a variation of orange, 139, 45. Now I will go to the app.css and remove the default CSS over here, which Create React App has added. Now let's style the header tag. So I'll add a background color in the form of a linear gradient to bottom right. We'll use RGB. So let's use the white color instead of RGB. And the second color, I will use a shade of orange. I think it looks good. Let's add a height, 400 pixel, and a padding of 10 pixel. We'll add a media query for the lower width device, max width 992 pixel. We'll add height as 380 pixel in this case. Now coming back to this banner CSS, I'll style the image now. So I'll set the width as 250 pixel. Let's check it out in the bigger screen. It also looks good. Now we are done with the banner. Now let's add another file. So I'll add the categories component. So let's add index.js and index.css. So this will show the list of categories of different items on this Infinity store. So let's define this categories component. This time I'm using the React snippets. Now I will paste a JSON over here, which is a list of categories. which has different category items like mobile, smartphone, tablet, laptop. I will add the repository link for this code in the description and the pinned comment, which you can refer. Now we'll create a UL li for the list of categories. Let me add a class name to UL, which is categories. Let's iterate over the categories. So I will use categories.map. So we'll get a category over here. And for each category, we will render a tag. So I will render an li. And inside the li, I will show this name and this image. So let's add a key, which will be equivalent to category.id. And then let's add a div tag, and I'll add a class name to it as image container. So here we'll be showing the image. Let's add the img tag. And for the src, I'll use this category.image. So if you check the object above, so we have, for each object we have this image property. So we'll use the same. And then let's show the name as well. So I'll show it outside this image container. Let's add a class name to it, which is title. We'll use it for styling, and then category.name. Now let's add the CSS to it. So first let's import this component. So I'll add it in within the main tag so that we can see it. And let's import it. So import categories from components categories. We can see the categories now, but we still have to style it. So let's switch back to the CSS file, index.css. Let's style the categories class. So we'll set a width to it, 100%, and we will set overflow hidden so that image doesn't bleeds out, and we will set display as flex, and flex wrap will wrap up this item for the lower width devices, and justify content will be center. So we'll set a margin bottom as 50 pixel and set cursor as pointer. Let's set padding 0 currently, and let's import it. Let's see how it looks so far. Import index.css. Now let's style the images under this. So I'll first style the image container. So we'll add a background color, so which will be light orange. So I'll use this color code, and we'll set some padding to it, 30 pixel. Let's set border radius as 100%. We want it to be round shaped. And then I'll set a width and a height 60 pixel each, the width and the height. So it looks something like this. Now we still have to style the image. Before we do that, let's add some transition and a hover state to these bubbles that you can see. And let's set the image width to 100% so that it doesn't bleeds out. And let's also add a transition to this. So we'll add a zoom effect and a hover effect, ease in out. Now on the hover of the list item, so we will scale up our image. So I'll scale up by 1.3 times. And then for the image container, on hover of it, we'll add a filter and we will lower the brightness. So we'll set it to 0.85. It looks good. Now let's style the title. Align it center and then set a margin top 8 pixel. Set a font size as 14 pixel. Color as #222, which is light black. Now let's copy this media query from the app.css. So for the image container, we'll add a margin top so that it's not very close to each other. Okay, so this is how it looks in the big screen and the smaller screen. Now let's also style the main tag under which we have the category. So I'll set a max width as 80% and we'll set margin 0 auto, and we'll add a padding as top bottom 0 pixel and left right 25 pixel. Let's increase the margin on the top and the bottom 30 pixel. It looks good now. Let's check the bigger screens. It also looks good over here. Now we can go ahead and create the another component. So we'll create the product component now. Created this folder. Let's add again index.js and index.css files. We'll use this component to render the actual product. So let's create a functional component. I'll name it as product itself. Now let's wrap it into a div and I'll give a class name as product. So we have to pass the product detail prop in order to get the product details. So it will look something like this, the product detail. And we'll use the properties of this product detail to specify different elements of this component. So the image will use the src as product detail.thumbnail. Let's add an alt tag first. So it's product detail.title. We'll use that as an alt tag. And then for the src, we'll use product detail.thumbnail. Now let's add some heading tags. So I'll use it for the title and the brand name. We'll use h5 for this. Product detail dot brand, and then we'll add a price. So we'll use p tag for the price. We can use any tag. I'll just use p tag product detail dot price, and let's add a button. So I'll add text as add to cart. Now let's import the CSS also over here, index.css. And I will set the default value of prop as product detail 1 so that it doesn't break, because currently we won't be passing it while testing it. So I will just import it in the app.js, this product, and let's see how it renders. So you can see it renders like this now. Now let's add the container for these products. So I will create another component and I will name it as TopDeals.js. So let's define this. So I will use a functional component, TopDeals, and inside this, let me add a fragment and then a heading, so I'll use h2 and I'll name it as top deals now, and below it I have to render the list of the products, so I will render it within a div. I'll add a class name as products list, and then we can map over the product items. So we can have the products as a prop, products.map, and for the individual product item we will again render a product. So product is already a component that we have defined, so we'll render product for each product item, and I will use the key as product.id, and we'll also pass the product info, product detail as the product. So these products will be passed as a props. So we have a heading at the top, and then we have created a list, and for each of the product item we are rendering this product component. Now let's import this. So I'll remove this product and instead I will import this top deals. I also have to pass the data, the list of the products. So for that I will create a JSON file. Currently we are not integrating with the API, we are just using the mod data. So I have created this data.json to hold the data, but in the actual project we'll have to integrate with the working API. So I'm pasting some data, and again this data will be available in the GitHub repository that I will be attaching the link. So inside this data we have all the details of that product, so let's import that. So import data from data.json, and for the top deals I will use data.deals. So now it should render fine. Okay, we can see the product details now and top deals. Now we'll have to style our product component a bit so that the products are rendered correctly. So let's style the product class. So I'll mark at display grid, and then border 1 pixel solid #EE, padding as 20 pixel, set the width as 250 pixel, and border radius as 15 pixel. I'll mark overflow hidden, and then margin bottom I'll set it as 40 pixel. So let's add a bot shadow for it. #td, and let's also add a transition, so I'll add a hover state. Now let's style the pricing. This is the p tag, so I'll set margin top as 10 pixel, and then we'll add a hover state. So I will add a transform, and I will translate to 5 pixel top when we hover on a product item. And let's also add a border color to it, 1 pixel solid, and a variation of orange. So let's add orange color currently, and then we can change it later if needed. Then for the image I will set the height as 200 pixel, and then let's align its center horizontally. Now let's style the headings that we have for the price, for the name and the brand. So I'll set margin as 20 pixel top, and also for the h5 tag, which is a brand, so let's give margin top as 10 pixel, and we can set the font weight as 500. For the h2, let's text align center, and I will set the color as RGB 232, 139, 45, which is a variation of orange, and margin top bottom 20 pixel and left right 40 pixel, and I will mark as position relative because I want to use a pseudo selector, and line height as 60 pixel. Now let's add a pseudo element to it. So h2 after, I will add a slight border at the top. So I'll use content as a blank space and then a background color which is reddish brown, and width 80 pixel, height 5 pixel, border radius let's set as 5 pixel, and I will mark it as position absolute, left 50%. So it looks something like this. Now let's add a transform. I will translate minus 50% so that it comes to the center. Now let's style the product list. So this is the class name, products list. So I'll mark it as display flex, and we'll add a flex wrap as wrap, and we'll add gap as 20 pixel between the individual product items, and we'll justify content center so that it stays in the center. Now this looks good. Let's check in the bigger screen. It's coming fine. So let's just change this color to be a slight lighter variation of orange. It looks better now. Now we have to show another list of items. So what I'll do is I'll just rename this component to product list so that we can reuse it for another list of items, and I'll just change the name everywhere. Instead of top deals, I will name it as product list, and I will also pass the heading so that we can pass different headings to it. Instead of top deals, now this should come as a heading, and we'll add product list here as well. So we'll use the same component to show another list of items with a different heading. So instead of top deals, we'll use product list here as well. And let's remove these components we are not using. Let's show this list again, and this time let's add another key to our data.json, which is all products. So in addition to deal, we need all products, and again I will use a set of data over here. So currently this is rendering fine, but let's add all products list as well. So I have added another JSON, and let's pass the heading to the deals. So I'll name it as top deals now, and for the product list I'll name it as all products. Now let's check it. So top deals now is at the top, and then we have the list of all products. So it looks good in the mobile. In the bigger screens, this also looks good. So we are almost done. You can see that top deals, and we have this product items, then we have the list of all products. So that was about this session. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any doubts, then add it in the comment. We'll reply it as soon as possible. Hit the subscribe button and support us. Thanks for watching.